welcome all of you here. All of you have different backgrounds, reasons why you're here. But I'd like to begin so that we are on the same page to understand what Chan is, what Chan isn't, its relationship to Buddhism. I'm not going to start too far back what Buddhism is, but just to say that when Buddhism transmitted to China, beginning the 1st century CE, it was received through the lens of Taoist traditions and a lot of misunderstandings. It took 300-400 years for the Chinese to really understand what Buddhism was really about. In this process, even the translation of early translations of scriptures, a lot of misunderstandings, like the word Buddha, which you would think is Buddha's transliterated name, but you can see in some of the early translations, informally they will refer to Buddha as the great immortal Da Xian, which is completely off. Some of the early translations of technical terms was filtered through the yin-yang cosmology. So really kind of filter through that context. Until the 4th century, we had really, really good translators. And through these better translations, there arose what I call Buddhist scholasticism. Buddhist scholasticism. Some of the best minds in Chinese culture, the upper echelon of the society, were engaged in Confucian-trained, well-versed in Taoist literature. They were engaged in understanding, writing commentary to Buddhism, leading to a lot of internal debates, systematization. So it's in this context that Chan emerged so that became the mainstream form of Chinese Buddhism, this scholasticism, development of innovative doctrine, systems of theories, stages of practice, and the whole commentarial tradition based on different Buddhist Mahayana texts that gave rise to different schools. So that's what I call Buddhist scholasticism. It's from this mainstream context, Chan emerged as small pockets of different small regions in China as a counter-mainstream movement against this focus on scriptures, focus on words and language. Kind of fueled by the indigenous contemplative tradition in China. And it took several centuries for it to take root. In reinterpreting Buddhism, making it Chinese, making it practical, down to earth. And in my book, Essence of Chan, I talk about this process a little more. So, you could say that the axiom of Chan, this fourfold axiom of not relying on words and language, outside of the scriptures, the tradition outside the scriptures, that directly point to the human mind, heart, to see the nature and become a Buddha. So these 4 lines is said to be the fourfold axiom of Chan. And there's good reason for that. Because the Chan tradition have discovered, you could say, the most practical, direct, efficacious path to dismantle the mechanism of human suffering, anguish. How? If we reflect on our own lives, in our own lives, our own challenges and vexations, difficulties that we faced, we've observed in the world, it can be boiled down to this tendency to reify, to solidify the various views that we hold onto. Positions, narratives that we have about this and that. So, these narratives that we hold about ourselves, about others, have shaped the way we experience things. And it is this kind of grasping onto these views and ideas that cause our suffering. Our vexations and difficulties. Interpersonally, in our families, friends, politically, one party versus another, one political ideology versus another, different countries. So all of these are kind of boiled down to grasping, holding on to these views. So the axiom of not depending on words and language, this in the Chan tradition, really targets this tendency. And also, this is a principle for meditation practice. Once a person is less tethered to words and language, views, which the scriptures point to, rest on, establishes on, then we can get the meaning of the scriptures. And the meaning of the scriptures is, of all the scriptures, is basically Buddhahood, irrespective of what tradition of Buddhism. So that's the real substance. So do you all know what Buddha means? In Sanskrit, Buddha means awake, to wake up. So all of the Buddhist traditions essentially point to this, to wake up from the slumber of our vexations, our suffering, our challenges, to wake up from that slumber. So, of all the Buddhist traditions, there are different ways to wake up. I organize, out of convenience, all the Buddhist traditions into 3 paths. The first path is the path of renunciation. The path of renunciation, or abandonment. Get rid of this in order to get that, in order to realize this. That's the first path. Second path is the path of transformation. It's not so much of abandoning this, getting rid of this in order to get something else, like samsara and then nirvana. Right? But it's more of transforming samsara to become nirvana. Samsara refers to the cyclic existence of suffering. Nirvana means basically the extinguishing of that suffering. So this second path of transformation is transforming suffering and the causes to become opportunities for practice. So samsara becomes like a playground for practitioners to engage with, to realize nirvana, So that's the path of transformation. The third path is the path of recognition. Recognizing what? Recognizing it's kind of an offshoot of the path of transformation. It's not really completely separate. It's like the essence of the path of transformation. So recognizing that samsara is actually nirvana. Delusion, vexations is actually the ingredient of awakening. and most importantly, recognizing the freedom within. If we were to translate nirvana in a more colloquial term way, more kind of down to earth, it's easy to understand, it just means freedom. So not transforming, but recognizing freedom is already here, already here. So with an understanding of these three paths, it doesn't matter what form of Buddhism that we encounter, we should be able to recognize by its teachings, its focus, what type of path this takes. So these three paths encompasses different schools within Buddhism. And sometimes it overlaps. There's a lot of overlaps too. So Chan belongs to the path of recognition. So its fundamental outlook to practice, to oneself and to the world, is not that of you gotta get rid of this in order to get that. You gotta eradicate vexations, 烦恼, in order to realize awakening. That would belong to the path of abandonment. So being the path of recognition, the position would be vexations, delusion, suffering, all the causes. Is the maybe not so useful manifestations of freedom. Freedom that's constricted, reified, solidified, classified. Through what? How? Words and language. So words and language at a very fundamental level makes our human experiences seem so solid and real. But in fact, they're just constructs. I'm this type of person. I'm that type of person. I have ADHD. I have trauma. So all these words and labels actually compartmentalize our experiences, kind of reify them so we carry them like burdens. And thereby, we're bound by them. So that first axiom of Chan really points to a new way to relate to words and language. The way we classify our world and our experiences. So we're less and less tethered by, controlled, conditioned by these words and language. Now, when I say words and language, it makes it sound like it's very cerebral, but actually, there's a physiological component to the effects of the way we label things. There's a neurological, even hormonal way how it affects the body. When we label things as threat, difficult, traumatic, that's source of my anxiety. Our amygdala, right, directly sends messages to the hippocampus. And hippocampus will flush out through the pituitary gland stress hormones, cortisol, and it flushes out throughout the system. So you have a physiological response, a palpable response, and you feel it in the gut to our experiences in life. So it's not just a matter of telling ourselves a new story. Okay, this is not stressful. This is actually delightful. Or kind of fooling ourselves that way. It doesn't work that way. We're deeply, deeply conditioned, rooted in words and language. It is all that you've ever known. It is all that you've ever experienced. Your thoughts and feelings, the sense of who you are, so deeply rooted. So not depending on that, words and language, means it's a big commitment. Takes practice to untether yourself, unbound yourself by the way you habitually see things, experience things. Even this talk, the way the teachings come to us verbally, we're cognitively kind of processing the information. So most people leave it here. They leave Buddhist practice in the realm of ideas. And they experience meditation through the realm of ideas. So for this reason, the Chan tradition places great emphasis in not words and language, but direct, immediate embodiment of the teachings. Frankly speaking, this means you have to experience the teaching through the body. Through the body. And it is for this reason that the Dharma Drum lineage of Chan, to which I belong, focuses on, as the foundation of practice, progressive relaxation, which means learning to be in tune with the body. Most people walk around, live their lives in their head. And the center of gravity is also up here in the head. And we can test it out. Would you like to get a feel for that, what I'm talking about? Okay. Yeah. So close your eyes and see if you can feel where the center of gravity is. Close your eyes. Very quickly, just for a second or two. Okay, open your eyes. It's here. Close your eyes, your eyelids are still flapping, maybe. How you feel, you're still here. Right? So when the energy is up here, most of the processing of information, knowledge, of experience will inevitably be words and language. So, in the Chan tradition, the focus is down here. traditionally, it's a few inches below the navel, like the center of your being. It's at the, what is called the dantian area. Dantian area. But it doesn't really have to be this particular spot. As long as it's grounded in the lower part of the body, then other ways of learning open up, actually. So we've been sitting for a while. Just feel free to make yourself comfortable doing this part of the talk. We're just talking so you can extend your legs, just feel comfortable, okay? So when we are grounded, and in tune with the body, I just said that other ways of knowing, experiencing, open up. Right? When we're in the head region, we're just communicating through words and language, just up here. When we are grounded, rooted to earth, our sense of bodily weight can kind of sink down into the lower abdomen or just to earth. And then when we relate to other people, you can actually, because we are in tune with ourselves, grounded, you will begin to communicate and relate to other people on a whole new other level. And we privilege words, ideas, concepts, intelligence so much that we kind of lost this way of communicating. Either through the heart or just by being grounded. Energy is low and rooted on an energy level. So other senses start to open up, especially the sense of the body. So we have, the Buddhism talks about 6 senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind as a faculty, sense faculty. So usually people is just mind here, words and ideas, concepts. But when we're grounded in the body, we're communicating through sight, scent. We can actually listen in a deep way. We can actually feel somatically, corporeally, the presence of other people. See? So other ways of communicating open up in a more immediate way, unfiltered through the categories, constructs that we're, and labels that we're projecting onto other people, putting people in boxes, and putting our self-ideas in boxes. Okay? So through all the senses. When we are also grounded, in tune with the body, we're also in tune with the deeper layer, what I call undercurrent, an undercurrent feeling tone of this moment. These are the subtle, very subtle forms of thought, and the pre-conceptual, moment-to-moment perceptions. They're not really fully formed thoughts yet. I'm going to call them kind of subtle thoughts. But really what they are is feeling tones. Feeling tones. Right? It's important. It's important to recognize that. No, most people don't recognize that. They're just relating to others through ideas. When we can expose these undercurrent feeling tones, we'll recognize that this is actually how we are processing information. These subtle attitudes. They're not fully formed thoughts yet. For example, a person may be bored. It's not really a thought, just kind of this feeling tone. Yeah, I know this already, Then that shapes the way you experience what is being said. When a person's anxious, that also shapes the experience. When the person's upset, that shapes the experience. So it's actually these subtle feeling tones that actually shapes our experience of the world. You see? How do we access this subtle feeling tone? You have to relax. If your body is tense, your energy is going to be up here. Energy up here, you're going to process everything through your own ideas, projections, notions, words and language. Then there's going to be a disconnect. Right? So when I said she wants to connect with her body, right? So we have to relax, learn to be in tune with the body, relax the body. So most of the time, in daily life, our body's pretty relaxed. Then we can be more and more aware of the subtle shifts in our feeling tone. If you're very in tune with your body and how you feel in the moment, any subtle shifts in the body, these undercurrent tones, you will be able to catch, because that is influencing how you're experiencing things. Now, if you don't catch it, then these feeling tones are just hijacking you all the time. So you're being hijacked all the time. Whatever tendency whatever proliferation of ideas, it's just filtering whatever experience that you have. You see? So relaxation is number one. So this gets to Chan traditions focus on embodied experiencing. Now, this may seem like embodied experiencing or relaxing. What does that have to do with the Chan axiom? Actually, it has direct connection to the first axiom, which is not dependent on words and language. It's very profound. It's very profound. Because like I said, when we examine deeply how we actually experience the world, the source of our problems, the source of our anxiety, it's actually the labels. We label on ourselves and we fixate our attachment to that. So the first stage of dismantling this mechanism is developing a new relationship to words and language by relaxing the body to be more in tune with the body. And then we'll be able to develop more space, distance, if you will, with the way we think, the way we feel. Give it more space. Give it more space. We don't immediately identify with our feelings, our thoughts. We get angry, we're just angry. We're sad, we're just sad. There's no gap, there's no space. So when we're grounded in the body, we'll be able to see the way we process things, experience that. Okay. And then closer, we will not depend on words and language. We will be able to get the meaning, the substance of experience. Which is what the sutras, the scriptures point at. Not the superficial ideas and concepts. And what it points at is the nature of things. When we get closer and closer to and be able to connect with experience on a deeper level, then we get closer to the nature of things, the nature of experience. Less and less tethered to ideas in the realm of abstractions, constructs. Then we see the nature. And what is that nature? Freedom. Freedom. Words and language are useful. They help us to navigate through daily life, but we're not bound by them. We can use them without being used by them. Then the whole world opens up. We'll be able to make new connections with words, ideas, not necessarily in a set way. And so experiences that we used to label as obstacle. She's my obstacle. He's my obstacle. We'll be able to relate to them on a deeper level, and then we'll experience them in a new way. It's not actually an obstacle. It's opportunity. Opportunities. Then we can engage in practice. Otherwise, your choice would be the path of abandonment. Obstacle, I want to get rid of. Difficulties, I want to throw away. So you have to. So that form of practice, you can still practice, but you can't practice in the midst of the complexity of daily life. Because complexity, that's an obstacle. Difficulties, traffic jams, and people, your boss, and obligations, and all that. So you have to go on retreat. You go on vacation. So from the Chan perspective, it actually privileges the complexity in the midst of daily life. You see the nature. How? You gotta disentangle the way we're tethered with our own ideas, preconceived notion of this is an obstacle and that's pleasurable. Disentangle from that. How? Grounded in the body. So you open all senses, not so bound up with your own ideas of things. Then you'll be able to experience the same thing in a new way. Does that make sense? When you experience things in a new way, you'll be able to see its true color, its true face, its true nature. Then you'll see that it's also free. People may be difficult. I'm not saying, we just kind of brainwash ourselves. Yeah, everything's good. There are difficult people, but you'll be able to see them from a different light. You see that they're trying their best in the only way they know how. And there's a history to why they are the way they are. So compassion, sympathy will be able to arise. Not so locked up in your own position, perspective to judge. So you'll be able to take on multiple perspectives. from their perspective. Instead of self-centered, self-referential, it's more like other-centered. I was talking with someone 2 days ago. Another faculty came to London from FSU. He's teaching systems thinking. He's teaching a course on design thinking. I said, what's design thinking? He says, well, we go into a corporation and through system thinking, we see the different conditions that have led to the way that this corporation, to the way it is now. And see what the problems are, what conditions are. And as he was explaining, I was like, that is so Buddhist. It was like, what do you mean? I have to share with him. The workings of causes and conditions. So instead of self-referential view, maybe for corporation, we want the goal to be this way. We're aiming for the goal, the aim. But actually, the ways in which this particular corporation actually works, it is exactly how do I say it? It is exactly the way it's supposed to be. Because the conditions are exactly the way they are, which has led to where they are now. So if this corporation wanted to change, we have to change the conditions, okay, to be in alignment with, the potential of different factors, and to on track with the aims of the corporation. Same thing with us. So I'll just conclude by saying that once we are more in tune with ourselves through embodied experiencing, less tethered to concepts, words, language, labels, we'll be able to see in an experience in a less self-referential way, ourselves and the world, in a more interconnected, embodied way. So more and more we'll be in alignment with causes and conditions. How things actually work. How many of you have never heard this term, causes and conditions, in a Buddhist explanatory way? Never heard of it. Oh, everyone has heard of it. Contingency? Yeah. Sometimes translated as dependent origination, dependent arising. Everyone has heard of that? 因缘. So at the working end of practice, not the conceptually, cause, the condition, 因缘, all these jargon, Buddhist terms. At the working end of practice, this means, this really means connection. Be able to experience in a connected way. Connections. To see things in a systemic way. interrelated way. So, in terms of meditation and all the Chan practices, these are the principles. So to summarize, the first principle is to be untethered, unbound to words and language. The way we label other people, the way we label ourselves and things. So question that. That's the first principle. Second, embodied experiencing. If we're still bound by words and language, it's not embodied experiencing. It's just, we're just in the head space, just ideas, constructs, labels, narratives. So the second is embodied experiencing. There's different technique how to do that. We'll get to. The third principle is once we're able to practice in embodied way, I guess the third principle would be connections. Connections. To see things, to experience things in terms of interconnectedness of things. Connections. Which is another way of saying freedom. Freedom through connections. Different way of changing one condition and the flexibility of things. Freedom doesn't mean do things whatever we want. It just means infinite potential. Infinite potential. Flexibility. Adaptability. Not locked, fixed. Can you remember these three? First principle is what? Words and language, right? Disentangle, distance. Second? That's the third. Second? Anyone? Grounding, okay. Embodied experiencing. Okay. And then we can open up to connections, which is freedom. That's basically the 4 axioms of Chan. Not depend on words and language, outside scriptures, which means pointing at the real meaning, direct pointing to the human heart. See yourself nature, become a Buddha, which means awake, which is freedom. So I'm just kind of reframing it in a way that's not so esoteric. Ordinary language. Okay? So if you want to practice Chan, you have to remember these principles. These principles serves as a guide to dismantle the way that we create suffering for ourselves. I'm going to circle back, see if you'll remember that later. 3 points. You can put it in your own words. But make sure you don't leave it in the level of words. So, words and language. Embodied experiencing, not depend on words and language. Embodied experience. So we can make connections to experience freedom. Does that make sense? All right. So let's practice that. All right. First, straighten out your legs. Stretch a little bit. And stretch. And then find yourself a posture that you feel comfortable. All right. Massage a little bit. Let's do 12, right? Okay. Right, I'm going to do a little guided meditation using these 3 principles. So you'll see and experience what I mean, how to actually do it. Okay? So place your hands on your lap. And withdraw your senses to the sense faculty of touch of the body. So we have eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, right? So let's just practice using the body. Okay? What does it mean? Okay, bring your experience back to the body. This means your posture. Just take a moment to experience your posture. Okay. The form. But also the body means sense of weight. Sense of weight. So the buttocks. Bodily weight. And whether the body is relaxed or not. All of that, the posture, the weight, the sense of relaxation, how it feels, all this is part of the body, embodiment. We're going to make sure the body is relaxed. So remember, we're practicing using the sense of touch. Okay, so bring your sense of awareness, the tactile sensations, to the top of your head, the crown of your head. Allow that sensation to trickle down to the forehead. Actually feeling the skin, the muscles in the forehead, especially that space between your eyebrows. If you wear glasses, you can put the glasses down on the side. Take a moment to experience the space between the eyebrows. This area where we hold a lot of tension. released all the tensions there. But one way to release tension is to raise your eyebrows up. Inhale and raise them up. Exhale, let the eyebrows drop. Okay, do that a few times. Feel the sense of release. Now extend that release to your eyelids, the skin, and then your eyeballs. Don't use your eyes to see anything. Just treat them like muscles. So the contours of the eyeballs, see if you can feel any tension with the eyes. If they are, relax them. Resting the eyeballs in the eye sockets. The whole area relaxed. And relax the planes of your cheeks. Your jawline, from below the ears, follow the jawline all the way to your chin. And at this time, tuck in your chin. Okay, now the lips. At this time, you can wet your lips. Wet your lips. And then the corners of your mouth, very slight, gently, a smile, or a beginning of a smile. Through this simple, natural, gentle smile, muscle memory, the rest of your facial muscles will relax. And take a moment to see how you feel. Even the undercurrent feeling tone in this moment have shifted to be lighter, more pleasant. That is the interrelationship between the body and the mind, heart. And just allow this experience to resonate for a moment. Okay, now bring your awareness, tactile sensations, to the top of the head again. This time, allow the sensations to trickle down to the side of the head and then the back. Feeling the skin, you can also relax the whole cranium, the whole scalp from the front all the way to the back, opening all the pores, relaxing even each follicle of hair. This whole area of the crown, relaxed, open, light. Okay, from the base of the cranium, relax down the neck. At this time, please rotate your neck in a circular motion. Feel the stretch as you rotate. Tactile sensations, feeling the skin, the muscles, relaxing. Now the shoulders, which is also very difficult to relax. So what do? We inhale, raise the shoulders up towards the ears. Hold, exhale through the mouth and let the shoulders drop. Do that a couple times. Experience the sense of release, relaxing the skin, the muscles, tendons around the shoulders. Okay, feel the shoulders relaxed. Now relax down the two arms, the upper arms, the biceps, triceps, the elbows. You can wiggle the elbows a bit so your arms relaxed. Forearms, your palms. For now, the hands should be resting on your thighs, on your knees. Okay? So open the hand, feel the palms, the warmth of the palm, the fingers around your knees. Whole arms relaxed. Okay. Now go to the chest. See if you can feel the subtle rise and fall of the chest following the rhythm of your breath. It's going to be very subtle. See if you can feel that. Okay. Now you can really feel the rhythm of the breath. And now we can use the breath to help us to relax. How? Use your exhalations. Okay, so exhale, allow the bodily weight to sink down into the abdomen as you exhale. You can do that a few times. Exhale, drop the body weight, and then feel the abdomen. See if you can feel the rise and fall of the abdomen following the rhythm of your breath. If you have difficulty feeling any movements there, simply place your palm over your stomach, over your belly. There's a lot of nerve endings at the palms of our hand, so the sensitivity is stronger. So you'll be able to feel the rise and fall of the abdomen. Okay. Once you feel that, put your palms back, but leave the sensations at the palm, at the abdomen. Now as your eyes are closed, the sense of weight, the gravity, is no longer at the head. It's actually settled down. This is what I mean before I grounded. Okay? Okay, now bring your awareness to the back. First, upper back. Back of the neck. Sweep down to the upper back, shoulder blades. See if you can feel the subtle rise and fall of the upper back following the rhythm of your breath. Now, most people think when you breathe, it's just the chest or stomach. Actually, the breathing expands the whole rib cage. It is for this reason that the back should never lean on something when we meditate. We don't want to constrict our breath. Allow the natural expansion, contraction. contraction. You can feel the skin, feel the muscles, feel the tendons. Same thing as what we did in the front. Now, next exhalation, drop the sense of bodily weight down to the mid-back area through sensations, relaxing the muscles, and then the lower back, feeling the skin, the muscles and tendons. And then next exhalation, bring it down to the buttocks. Now you can really feel the sense of bodily weight there. Beginning to feel grounded, rooted. There's one more thing we need to do. I need you to sway your body from left to right, front and back. See if you can find the center of gravity. Allow the swaying to stop by itself once you have found it. Side to side, but also front and back. Sometimes we can lean the body one way or another without us actually feeling it. Most people, when they sit, they actually lean forward. So you want to sway side to side, but also front and back. So the spine is erect, but very naturally upright. Each vertebrae of the spine stacked on top of the other. Effortless. And then we continue to relax the hips. Feel the skin, the muscles, tendons, the thighs, the knees, the calves, and the feet. And the earth. Feel the earth beneath. Since the room is warm, I want you to exhale, drop the body weight, and feel all the heat of the body sink down into earth, leaving the upper body cool and refreshed. All the warmth is resting at the base of your posture. The contact points between your body and the ground. So through this way, you can lower your own bodily temperature. Okay, now we can put the hands together in the meditation posture, left on top of right, because the heart is on the left, nothing pressing down. Left on top of right, palms up, the hand resting on your lap or on a towel, and then two thumbs gently touching. Relaxed, grounded. Now, we will be able to access the undercurrent feeling tone that I spoke of. Once the body is grounded, now you can feel. What is it like in this moment? Pleasant, cool, and with that gentle smile, a little bit of joy. This is the way we should frame our meditation practice. The body relaxed, the heart pleasant and content, needing nothing from the outside, no grasping, rejecting, content. One last ingredient. Now we have to sharpen the mind. The body's relaxed, heart's content, the mind sharp. Bring your awareness to the sensations of your breath. You can place it at the tip of your nose. You don't need to count right now. Just place the sensations, tip of the nose or your abdomen. If you place it at the nose, what kind of sensations are there? Again, we're not using the eyes, ear, nose, tongue. Just using the body, the faculty of the body, the tactile sensations. Is it cool, warm, smooth, silky, or coarse? Is it light? Is it heavy? Is the sensations long or short? No preconceived idea. Just embodied, experiencing the reality of this moment. Uncontrived. Relaxed. Content. Extremely clear. In this moment, as you experience the breath, there's a quality of freshness. I want you to experience that. Moment to moment, new beginnings. If you can't feel too much sensation at the nose, just drop it down to the abdomen. The rise and fall of the abdomen. No words, labels, wandering thoughts. Simply embodied experiencing the freshness. Extremely fascinating. The actual experience of the breath. Nothing else matters. So we'll sit like this for a few moments. When the mind goes away, bring it back to the actual experience of that moment, the breath. Now for a moment, let's try this, if you can. I want you to zero in on the actual experiencing, not so much the breath, but the experiencing of the breath, that experiencing, quality of this experience. Don't use words to describe it. Just relax into it. Clear. Okay? And slowly come out of meditation. You can move your fingers a little bit. Enjoy your palms. And then place your palm on your lap. And first, you rotate. Come out of meditation. Your posture, you can loosen your posture. Rotate both directions. Okay, and then rub your palms together. And then place the warmth over the eyes. A couple times. And then over the whole face. Just relaxing the face. And then if you can, and then massage the scalp a little bit. Use your fingers. Massage the neck. And from here on out, muscle squeeze, joints rub. As you massage your body, we use this self-massage to come out of meditation. Okay? So be aware of the movements and sensations. Okay? You can sit comfortably. How was that period? Felt sleepy. Yeah.
Sometimes just forgot meditation. Just
Okay. A little bit sleepy. How many of you were sleepy? The actual ideal temperature for meditation should be cooler. Right? Because when we meditate, our body's in this posture, our body temperature will rise. So the external temperature should be cooler. Now, what happens when the temperature is warm? This is what happens. Sleepy. So the situation in this room is not ideal, so we just adapt to it. How many of you had a lot of wandering thoughts? Okay. Did you notice what the thoughts were circling around? Was it random, fragmented, or is it coming back to a topic or the body? Okay, so memories and planning. Must remember to do this and that in regards to your meditation or in regards to your life? Your life, okay. You're a busy man. Right. So we have to think the meditation is an appointment with ourselves. Right? Every time we sit, it's an appointment with ourselves. So sit and we enjoy this moment. How many of you were able to relax? Yeah? Okay. There are definitely certain parts of the body that are tense and we don't even know how to relax that part yet. That's fine. As we practice this, more and more we'll be able to kind of relax into it. Okay. So what we did was, well, let me ask you this. How many of you, when we were doing the progressive relaxation, when we got to, the base, you actually feel that your bodily weight is there, and the center of gravity is no longer in the head? How many of you felt that? Okay, so you know the difference, right? During the talk, I talk about closing the eye, feel it here. But when you actually relax the body, you can actually feel grounded, rooted. That's how we should be. It's not to say we don't think. Of course we can think. But when we're grounded, we're less tethered to our own thought. When the body is tense, there's a direct connection between bodily tension and our views and ideas and thinking process. It becomes more rigid. There's the body, mind, breath. These three are all connected. So if we're grounded, then less tethered to the thoughts. Through force of habit, we may have a lot of wandering thoughts. Just come back to being grounded, and then we place less importance in these thoughts. They come and go, but we can still feel grounded. So what we did was actually, towards the end, I asked some of you, if you can, to actually not pay so much attention to the breath, just experiencing. Remember? The quality of just experiencing. How many of you were able to do that? Okay, a few. Okay. What was that experience like? If we were to put words to it. Yes. Mm-hmm. Effortless, just experiencing through sensations. Okay. All right, anyone? Good. Anyone else? Yeah. Just sitting? Okay. All right. Anyone else? Yeah.
I felt opposite. And when I concentrating on my breath, I'm kind of holding the breath.
Uh-huh.
Yes, totally doesn't work. I'm intently holding my breath.
Yeah.
I kind of. When I try to concentrate on the breath, then
The breath feels constricted.
yeah,
So when you don't focus on the breath, you feel more release. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Yes. More refined. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Did you all hear the question? Okay. When so the question was, when we experience the breath in the abdomen, not here, nostrils, but in the abdomen, is there a particular aspect of the breath that we focus on? Is that the question? When we meditate on the breath, at least in our tradition, we're not actually first things, we're not actually controlling the breath. You could almost say we're not really focusing on the breath. What we're really focusing on is actually the quality of the sensation. So it doesn't really matter when the breath is out, when the breath is in. In fact, the only reason we know the breath is in or out is through sensations. And each sensation, with inhale or exhalation, the sensation is different. Does that make sense? If we focus on the breath, then your breath will be constricted. All kinds of problems will come out with the breath. You start like you can't breathe anymore. So the problem, the meditation on the breath, we can only know the breath exists because sensation. That's the secret. So you don't really care what, long breath, short breath, smooth, coarse, light, heavy, cool, warmth, if you focus on here. It's just the sensations. So it is an embodied experiencing. Right? It's the faculty of the body. It's not eye, ear, nose, tongue, mind even. Of course, mind is there. We're cognizing. It's actually embodiment. Once you do that, you will not have problem with breathing. So when you focus on here, the abdomen or the nostrils, you don't really care if it's in or out, long or short. You're just experiencing traditionally is put the rise and fall, right? But what is the rise? Rise is just a word. What's the rise? What is the fall of the Atman? It's just the quality of the shifts of sensations, the shiftings. So it's very refined. It's not just a general word or label that we use to kill off all the experiences. Remember the first principle. Don't rely on words and language, right? So you don't even care if it's long, short, shadow, deep, rise or fall. No words. No language. Just directly experiencing. What is it in this moment? See? That's the key. And then the mind will become more and more refined, less and less tethered, controlled, conditioned by the yapping of the labels that we put. It doesn't really matter if it's here. And then more and more, we will be able to be more in alignment with the direct pointing to the nature of this experience. That's when I said the last moment, forget about the breath, just the quality of experiencing. What is that? Yes.
So if you find that it's easier not to influence the breath by focusing on the sensations in the abdomen, like the nostril, should you just persist only with the abdomen, or should you try to persist with the nose?
Okay, excellent question. Should we, since the main point is just sensation, should we focus on the nostril or should we focus on the abdomen? Right?
If by focusing on the abdomen you don't influence the breath.
You don't influence the breath, control the breath. You know, that influence part, people can influence it even if we focus on the nose. It doesn't matter. So, right? Here's the principle of meditation of breath in all its varieties. There are different kinds of approaches. The principle is the more complicated the method, the experiencing, the more easier it is to do. But the depth of concentration reached is shallower. The simpler the method, the experiencing, very hard to do. But if we get the knack of it, the depth of concentration or clarity of mind becomes deeper. So usually when we begin, we have to have a complicated method because our minds are complicated. Our minds are racing. So you focus on here. Why? There's a lot of sensations. There's cool, there's warmth, there's a tingling sensation, there's a silky sensation. As it comes out, it's a little coarse, more turbulent. There are all these qualities of the breath here. Now, as the mind becomes more refined through concentration, these sensations will drop away, leaving you with just a sense of subtle turbulence or experiencing. You know what I'm talking about? The cool, warm, shadow, deep, long, short. Long, short is typically, it's conceptual. Okay? All these things will drop away. It's just the experiencing. Subtle sensation. So it becomes less palpable for the mind to hold on to. Okay? So the busy mind needs a complicated method. Once the mind becomes more concentrated, then you don't need a busy method. If you use and stick with the busy method, then you stir up wandering thought when there isn't necessary. In Chan, we call that stir up waves in the water when there's no wind. Right? So if your mind is really busy, you can count your breath. You give it a number, which is abstraction. So you have the sensation and you have the number. If the mind is really, really busy, you can count backwards. Even numbers, 20, 18, 16, only exhalations. And then go back to odd numbers, 19, 17, 15. So the mind is something to hold on to. Once you feel, you can pretty much stay with it. You maybe count regularly. And if your counting feels contrived, effortful, that's the indication that you don't need to count anymore. Just experience the quality of the breath here. And the quality goes away here, then drop down here. Usually. Simpler. And it's a sensation, the abdomen is moving naturally, calmly, subtly, as if there, as if not there. And you're not sleeping. Then you can drop that too. At that time, just the simplicity of sitting. Uncontrived, effortless. So we call that just sitting. Most people, when they do just sitting, they're not just sitting. They're having plans, wandering thoughts. Sometimes they go to the breath a little bit. Sometimes they go to sensation. The mind's all over the place. They're not just sitting. So the true practice of just sitting is the mind and body are in the moment sitting. It doesn't wander off. So in that moment, the method, you still have to have a method. The method is sitting. The mind is experiencing sitting. In the present. That means these three things are actually one. Present, what's present? There's no such thing as present moment. The present is experiencing. Experiencing is the sitting. Sitting is the present moment. See, that these three things become one. That is the first stage of silent illumination. Watch out. Does that make sense? So I've talked about the principle of the method, how to really use the method, adapting to the circumstances of our psychosomatic condition. Right? If the bodies feel agitated, that means the foundation's not even there. You gotta relax. You gotta feel grounded. You gotta feel rooted. If you feel that you're still up here, forget about meditation. You're not really sitting. You're just talking to yourself. So get the foundation right. Relax, ground. Ground, relaxed, heart content, needing nothing from outside, needing nothing to try to get rid of something. Right? I'm just reframing the traditional Chan principle of no grasping, no rejecting. What is that? Contentment. You're content. The traditional Buddhist lingo tend to be negative. Don't do this, don't do that. Samsara, attachment, impermanence. Right? Usually it's kind of apophatic language. But that's really just cultural bound. It's bound by culture. Right? It's not really this culture. Impermanence sounds so negative. What is it actually talking about? It's actually freshness. Moment to moment freshness. New beginnings. Doesn't that sound much more pleasant? Right? New beginnings. There's a freshness quality to it. So once we have the foundation, right? Relax, content, great interest, clarity. In what? In the method. And the method has to be right. By the time you finish relaxing, grounding, you shouldn't have that much wandering thoughts. If you still have a lot of wandering thoughts, don't worry about the method. Keep on relaxing systematically till you feel really, your heart really feel content. Because it's pretty much impossible if you have a lot of wandering thoughts and you feel content. How many of you can do that? I don't think so. I'm not talking about ideally content, like actually experiencing, feeling content. You don't have that much wandering thought. Right? So until you get the foundation right, then when you use the method, it will be effective. And the method, it's something dead. We make it alive. That means if the mind is distracted still, you use a little more complicated method. Just in the beginning to settle it down. Counting the breath, backwards or whatever. Or just focus on the breath here. And zero in on the sensations. Forget about the past. Forget about the future. There is no such thing as present. There's just sensations. There's no words or language. Definitely no environment. Just sensations. Zero in on sensations here. And then there's no sensation, bring it down here. It's so subtle, nothing here, bring it down to sitting. These are the stages of practice. Does that make sense? So that naturally brings a segue into one of the distinct qualities of, or method of the Chan tradition, which is silent illumination practice. First stage of which is the practice of just sitting. Okay, the breath, that's still a shared teaching in all Buddhist traditions and also non-Buddhist traditions. It's a very common method. So perhaps what distinguishes it is the way in which we practice the meditation of breath. So these are the stages and the principles. Those three principles still apply. No words and language. Embodied experiencing, we're definitely doing that. So that we can get into direct immediacy of the nature of this moment. Right? Which is freedom. We didn't get to that yet. Right? We got to do the priming. We've gone over time a bit, and we need time to pack up. I hope all of you will be able to help us to kind of pack up. And volunteers here have a very systematic way of how to pack up. So are there any? If there are more questions, you're welcome to join us for lunch. We're gonna find a local restaurant, whatever. And we're just going to hang out there, have a quick bite to eat, and just chat. And you can raise your questions there. All right. The next class will begin with meditation, and we'll segue into silent illumination proper. All right. So this class, I've spoken about providing a kind of historical context. I spoke about the principle of Chan as a reactionary movement away from scholastic Buddhism, and that's why its principles of practice is very particular to Chan, right? Not depend on words and language, right? Embodied experiencing, direct pointing, and then we exercised a little bit. How does that work in actual sitting?